wine.
I get that thing where it needs to go.
Some of the wine.
All right, there we go.
Are we okay, production mistress?
Sounds like you guys are mostly good right now. You guys are live.
Sweet.
Okay, mostly good. Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm hitting Facebook with you guys.
So last week we had the fairy invasion.
Yep.
And what was cool about that was that the fairy invasion was responsible for us getting 50 follows, which is very cool.
Yep. It means people get notified now when
Yeah.
we're live, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yep. And so again, we're going to keep on doing what we did before, which is shill. We are running on Facebook right now. Give it a thumbs up, give it a follow, give it a like. Go to YouTube, whatever. Watch them, please subscribe, please hit the like button. Go to Twitch. The follow doesn't cost you a dime, helps us out. Get in the chat room, talk to us, whatever the case may be. Selling for the moment, but this week we're going to start talking about our dragons, which is probably the most iconic monster in the catalog. And everybody's bucket list if you're a D&D player. If you're not a D&D player, it's
Right.
sort of one of those things that you can take or leave.
There's certain iconic monsters that, especially in like a homebrew campaign, you're gonna run into it at some point because they're that big. You've got your dragons, your liches, to some degree giants as well. But yeah, they are the biggest.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in the title, Dungeons and Dragons. It's not Dungeons and Beholders. It's not Dungeons and Zombies.
Yeah.
Although I like Dungeons and Zombies.
Bedrooms and beholders. And,
Oh, that's great. Papers and paychecks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Warehouses and werewolves.
Ooh, houses and humans.
Yeah.
Anyway. But anyway, so we're doing dragons.
Offices and orcs.
Ooh, that's gross. Sanitation workers and ghouls.
Yeah.
We've got, we're going to break it down. We're going to do chromatics first. We're going to do metallics, and then we're going to do the oddballs. And I'm going to cover the older shit because Dave's a little more notified to the new things than I am. Although I looked over some stuff for 5th edition, 3rd edition. There's not a whole lot of difference. It's
No, it's not
usually
huge.
big, mean, teeth, claws, breath weapon, and fly.
Big bag of hit points.
Yeah, big bag of hit points and,
That sort
and
of thing.
high armor class.
Yep.
But one of the things we're going to get into
Got
later on
raise
is
on you and you die.
yeah, we're going to do some stuff later on in the show. We're going to do the layers and etymology and the ecology. And there are things that I think that we don't use enough for dressing for dragons because we do one of two things. We make them impossible and the players can't beat them, or we make them too friggin' easy and the players knock them down like 9 pins. And there's a huge gulf there in the middle.
Yeah, and 5th Ed addressed a lot of that too, where it's all kind of built in. It's like, here's how their layer looks and all that and what they can do with it. So that part they've made it easier on DMs.
I also think but at the same time, there's a little part of me that goes a little bit, because I think it's the responsibility as a DM, as a storyteller, as a creator. It's up to me to make that interesting. And if I'm given a guidebook, I don't know. Part of the old back in my day guy in me goes, but at the same time, it's like nobody has 9 hours a day to work on damn campaigns. We're not 18 years, 17, 16 years old anymore.
Well, the way they did it, I think you'll actually like it if you go and read through it. It's not like here's the layer and everything. It still leaves it up to you to construct that. It's just more of instead of saying green dragons live in the woods and then that's it. It's more they live in they live in the woods. Here's a little bit about what kind of layers they have or where they like to layer. And here's things they can do in their layer or use their layer to mess with you.
You know what was funny was that was sort of the unspoken but written down in Dragon Magazine thing about second ed on, which they started talking about dragons and layers. But again, that's later on, though.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about the chromatic dragons, the one that everybody calls evil. I'm sorry. I think in my description I said evil. Because I always sort of imagine Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man, evil, whenever I think about chromatic dragons.
Yep.
But one of the things that I always loved about dragons when I first started playing the game was we had this guy who played with us who had this fantasy about creating a dragon scale mail suit with all the represented chromatic colors.
That'd be hard to collect.
It's very hard to collect. He never made it. He got
Be
eaten
easier
shortly
just to buy
thereafter.
'em.
Yeah, you know. But he, in the process, our DM, who was a unconscionable ball breaker most of the time, gave us an incredible amount of access to information in that particular scenario, probably knowing damn good and well we were going to reach about 20% of the actuality of it.
Right.
But anyway, so we've got this unparalleled access as players to information that we have as players with characters, and we started looking at dragon types, and what was cool was that it gave us an opportunity to take the map, and we could circle. Okay, we're probably going to find red here and blue there and white here, and then we got into the odd ones, the brown ones, the yellow ones, the
Those
lesser
ones-
known chromatics.
Yeah, those ones I don't know too much about.
Yellow and brown are just kind of generally asinine.
Yeah. It's kind of what it seemed like.
But I will say one thing about the brown. The brown was interesting because it was an ambush predator, and it was a desert species like the yellow dragon. It was really fun.
It's like a sand dragon.
Yeah, and it was like it was sort of the evil counterparts to the coppers and the brass dragons. Sort of the middle to low level dragon, and again that's dragon scale, but they were the sort of the counterparts to the brass and the copper dragons in the desert. Because when you got into the desert, the two main big baddies you had were the bronzes and the blues.
Yeah.
Because the bronze dragons are damn near everywhere. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun to play with too, because they're just fun to have a good time with.
And you could theoretically, you could run into a bronze dragon just about anywhere. They do have kind of a more adventurous spirit.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily going to stay in one type of terrain. They'll go explore.
One of the things that I loved about as a young player was Dragon's Lance, Kryn. It took me years, and I don't know why it took me years, but it took me years to figure out, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Kryn was a young world with baby gods.
Yeah.
Because their gods were not very powerful at all.
No, not really.
And, they got people who are riding dragons. Well, yeah, 35-foot dragons only age category 3.
Yeah, they're not really that
That's
big.
a young dragon, for dragons again. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like, that was kind of a neat, occurrence, but their usage of the creature was the only thing that I found that was even more useful than that, or used dragons, was the Council of Worms, which is where you play the dragon.
Well, I think with Kryn too, part of the reason you don't see these ancient dragons is they're such an integrated part of the story and the world that they're dying young. They're not reaching that old age because they don't have the isolation that dragons in other worlds would have.
That's kind of funny too, because one of the dragons that was created as a foil for a world is going to be on pen cushioning tonight. It was a really fun scenario, but your standard types again. You got your black, white, red, green, blue. That's 5 basic chromatics, right?
Yeah, where would you put it? I don't know if it really qualifies as a chromatic, but the Dragon Kings in Dark Sun, the Sorcerer Kings.
Oh,
I think they're really the only dragons around.
see, that's the thing. The only answer that I could give you on that one is I would lump them as their own category,
Right?
Because in the birthright setting, in the Cerulean setting, there's one kind of dragon, and they're called Cerulean dragons.
Right.
And Cerulia is the name of the continent. It's not
Right.
like Cerulean like color or anything. And they're very carefully written to be sort of an every dragon.
Okay, so there's a little bit of everything.
The breath weapon is acid and fire or cold and lightning.
Oh.
It's a mixture of both, and they choose. There's a million, squillion, billion, one. They're sort of bestial, but at the same time they're intelligent. And they're still hoarders, but they only hoard certain things. So what they did was they just kind of cherry picked what they wanted to and smashed it into one dragon and threw it out there for the setting. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you get into now. Do you classify deep dragons and the shadow dragons as chromatics, or do you classify them as the oddball set?
So it depends on what edition you're going with. Everything after second edition for the Shadow Dragon basically has them as a chromatic dragon that has been corrupted by the Shadowfell. And so they become a Shadow Dragon that way.
Okay, I don't see now in the second edition. Of course, the Shadow Dragons.
Yeah, they
just
were their
came
own
from
thing.
Demi-Plane.
Yeah, they just came from there. But they kind of added to the story later on and made it so that they were chromatic dragons that, for whatever reason, had been there long enough to get corrupted and become shadow dragons.
Did the Metallics ever get corrupted that way too?
I would imagine they could, but it's a
They
lot
presented
less,
the Shadowfell
yeah.
dragons as the evil ones, no matter what.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you could have. I mean, it was a template, so you could apply that to any dragon.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
just like Dracolich. you
Okay.
could,
Okay. Cool.
you know,
I get you. I
but
get you, I get you.
just like with the Dracolich, it's not very likely you're going to get a chromatic Dracolich because that's just not how they roll. Likewise, you wouldn't be likely to find a chromatic dragon in the Shadowfell unless it got trapped there somehow,
Okay. All right.
which could happen.
You and I are going to have to sit down with you. You're going to have to explain this whole Shadowfell thing to me. But anyway.
Negative material plane, basically.
Oh, that's simple.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
that's about it, pretty much.
Okay. That's terminology I understand. Did you, how many parties have you had that successfully hunted dragons?
Ooh. I've had a few. I've had a number of them. My most recent was, a group, you were in it. They killed one shadow dragon and were chased off by the other. Once it kind of figured out what they were doing and started hiding around corners, holding its action, letting its breath weapon recharge and just dinging them. But I built that one. It wasn't your standard shadow dragon out of the monster manual. It was built for 5th ed based on the 2nd ed one.
Right. The only now in my course of DMing, probably in the last, I'm going to say 25 years, I've probably had 15 to 18 successful dragon hunts. And I had one party that we're playing on a world where the dragons were more common and the dragon slayers were, we transferred the paladin dragon slayer kit over to a fighter or a cavalier kit. We could have a little fun with it. We were just doing some homebrew, having a good time with it actually. And these jackasses decided they were going to be good guys and they were going to hunt dragon babies. And so they ran around the forest and the hills and the foothills and the deep glens and everything.
We have a stream question.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we've got a question.
Are you meaning the difference between chromatic or metallic when you were saying chromatic? You mean metallic dragons?
I mean, which ones?
Are you saying chromatic or there's somebody distinction saying that you were saying chromatic and they wondered if you meant metallic?
No, we were saying chromatic and we meant chromatic. Yeah.
But we had these guys running around killing youngsters, age category 1, 2, and 3 dragons, and these jackasses were breaking into lairs and they were trying to smash babies.
Oh,
And
that's how you run into mamas.
they got a mud hole stumped in their ass and walked dry. It was pretty funny actually.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
I remember the Goody Two Shoes characters were a little mystified as why they were having alignment issues.
Well, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I could see that.
You're hunting babies here,
Yeah.
And at the same time, these are evil creatures. Period.
Yeah.
End of story. They are.
But at some point,
But where does that moral line fuzz
at some
over?
point, it should enter a good character's head that maybe if we just stole the eggs or stole the babies, they could be influenced to be good at.
Did you ever remember a system in the first edition, especially when they talked about subduing dragons and using them for mounts?
And then taming them. Yeah.
That was insane.
Right? Yeah.
Now, what's your favorite chromatic dragon?
Out of the chromatics, ooh, that's tough. There's always the iconic red dragon, and not just because of their power, but a lot of it's their personality. They have larger than life egos. They are absolutely mean and tyrannical, and they are like, if you're gonna put a red dragon in your campaign, that should be the big bad evil guy.
Here's a question for you. And before anybody says it, I'm not going to say it with like I'm, you know, the dragon from The Hobbit, Smaug. Mm-hmm. What color was he? Or was he a colored dragon? Was there
red.
any distinction made?
Pretty sure he was red.
Okay, did he call him? Okay, was he called a red worm, or was he named a red worm by an outside character alliteration?
Our dragon expert says he was red.
Yeah,
the
that's what I
dragon
thought.
expert?
Because I'm pretty sure that the red dragon in D&D is literally based on Smaug.
Well, okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that,
I'm
like, the
I'm asking in that
everything,
sense.
the treasure hoard, all that. That's where that comes from.
Now, you said that the red dragon was the iconic in your opinion, but what's your favorite?
Oh boy.
We know what your metallic favorite is, so just hold that back.
Yeah, we know that one already.
That's next week.
Boy, I think it really depends on the campaign, and how your dragon fits into the campaign and all that. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite. I mean, blue dragons are awesome because lightning's cool, but
Hands down, blue
yeah.
dragons are my favorite.
Yeah.
Hands down. But without, I mean, amongst the oddball color, amongst the metallic, hands down, blue dragons, top of the heap. I thought, as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, I think I can agree with that. That's
But you know why I like blue dragons so damn much? Because of the Dragon's Lance novels. You remember Sky?
Oh, yeah.
Kitiara's mount.
yep.
You know, he was cool. He was just very cool, and realized very early on that there was some very there was a lot of intelligence to be had as far as working with that role the right way. What was funny was Sky was one of the few dragons of the original Dragon War that actually made it through the 5th generation of the Dragon's Lance novels. And by the time you run across him again, he is a walking, talking badass.
Oh yeah. What one are you thinking of? Or
Chromatic and metallic, what's the difference?
Colored
chromatic
versus
dragons?
metallic.
Yeah.
Chromatics are red, green, black, blue, white.
It says
Yeah.
the metallic dragons are typically good alignment, and I think,
Usually, yeah.
I think that's where the confusion is coming in, is people are thinking there's only one of them.
No.
Oh
No.
yeah, no. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of both.
Metallic dragons are typically good. Gold, silver, bronze, brass, copper. Chromatics are typically evil. Again,
Yep.
black, red, blue, green, white.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
But-
And that's probably on me because again, before anybody makes the fucking joke,
Yeah.
I assumed it was general knowledge.
Yep.
Mea culpa.
I could see some sort of confusion there. Like chromatic. You think chrome is shiny. That's not.
Anyway,
It's from the word color.
now, the other dragon that I have as a favorite, and it's a toss-up tie because of a specific dragon. Again, I read a lot of the Dragon's Lance novels.
Right.
And the Blackwing with Kassanth, the black dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Which she was the one that they fought they fought her first, and that's where Gold Moon got the whole staff of Mashakal.
Yeah, she got her magic stick.
Right.
Yep.
But it was interesting because, like I said, she was an example of a chaotic evil dragon that turned lawful evil and ended up being an absolute just killer, personality. But anyway, like I said, blue, and then black about here.
Yeah.
I like greens. Like it's
Greens are
funny.
pretty cool, too.
My least favorite dragon, color-wise, is the reds. And let me explain this before anybody tells me I'm an asshole. I am an asshole, but not for that particular reason. Reds are just like, I don't know. Reds like, yeah, it's the iconic dragon, but it's been done to friggin' death.
That's why you make it not boring.
I
mean,
get
you
that,
can-
but
you can spice up your red dragon and do all kinds of stuff with it. Hell, you could even kind of flip the script and maybe do the whole story a little different. Maybe you get your party gets hired by a village to go kill this red dragon that's up in the hills, and it turns out he's not your typical red dragon. The reason they want you to go kill him is because the town took out a big loan and they don't want to pay it. He's been sitting on his pile of treasure. Maybe he gives out loans to the villages nearby because he's figured out and he's smart enough to know.
there's no way in hell I would borrow money from a dragon. What the hell is wrong with you?
You pay it back, that's for sure. You don't.
The interest rates are really, really good.
Yeah, because he knows he's going to live
They're
for a long
not
time.
gonna be good. It's a dragon.
No, he's smart enough to know that he can.
The dead person can't pay you back.
Right? Yeah.
What am I, an idiot? Am I going to borrow 4 points above the fucking VIG? Give me a break. I'm not going to go borrow money from my dragon.
But
You have a monopoly.
right?
Well, yeah, it's a monopoly, but I just, no.
He's smart enough to know that if he can,
Probably better than banking with Chase.
right? Yeah. But
It's probably smarter than banking with anybody. It's in the banking industry these days.
But-
Chase,
Oh
USA,
yeah, that's true.
whatever.
But think about it. He's smart enough to know that he's going to outlive most of these people anyway. He's going to be alive for a long time. He doesn't have to work for his treasure. He can just give out some loans, and his treasure they'll bring it to him.
And then he could like secure other people's treasure for them.
Right? He could start up a collection agency. He could buy buy out other loans and stuff. He could have
You people are killing me. You know that?
he could have employees that go out and they buy loans from companies and stuff, and then tells them, if you don't pay this back, your village is going to get burned down. And so maybe the party goes to kill this red dragon, and they find out the real story, and that kind of changes the whole dynamic.
I'm sorry, but can you imagine adventurers being hired by a dragon to go beat up the town?
Right.
Kill you.
Do me a favor.
like, hey,
What's
the-
that great red dragon? Go down there and kick this guy's ass for 4 gold pieces. Sir, you are sitting on a mountain of gold. Right, but it's my 4 gold
But it's
pieces.
my gold. Yeah.
And I want you to go get it. And if I go get it, I'm going to kill the whole village. Okay, just
And it
pardon
could
me
be
for a minute.
simply, the reason he can't do it himself is because he's been in that lair so long, just sitting there. He hasn't been outside, and he's realized that he's gotten too big to get out.
Jesus, I'm too fat to fit out of the
Yeah,
opening.
he's too fat to leave, so he's got to send adventurers to go collect on loans. I think that'd be an awesome campaign.
There was a story about a deep dragon one time that was that had sort of had taken its lair and had settled in real good, and had grown to the point in its hibernation where he would fill the cavern, and he couldn't really move, and some earth had shifted, and these dwarves were digging around, and they found him, and they thought he was a gem formation of an ancient dead dragon.
Oh, no.
And so they spent like 130 years toiling to uncover this dragon and build this grand hall around him, and then he woke up and went,
Just
everybody
burned them
died.
all.
It was
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys were describing Shadowrun dragons.
Practically, yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
great.
Yeah.
Actually, you're 100%
It's-
right. We were.
Yep. God, what was the company? One of the megacorps is headed by a dragon.
All right, do me a favor, Dave.
don't
Kill
remember
my
which
mic.
The president of the UAS is
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, what was his name?
Dunkelson.
Dunkelson. Yeah.
All right, David, it's time for you to entertain the people with the get fiddle and the warbling. I'm going to get the
Yep.
hell out of the way for a few minutes.
Yeah, I
And,
think.
if you want to kill my mic, you can.
I don't know if I need to. Should be good. Oh, ow. I'm just going to axe you in the back. Here. All right. This is actually a fairly short song, but